Hi, Rudy Perkins, P-E-R-K-I-N-S, from Amherst, Mass. I'm here to give the first part of a comment with my wife, my neighbor, Madeline and Tim. We live in Amherst, Mass., one of the moratorium communities, and we're here to speak against the granting of the petition. The petition should be denied. The department has held that the public interest analysis under Section 94A requires that Berkshire must demonstrate that the proposed contract is consistent with the company's portfolio objectives and compares favorably to the range of alternatives available. Berkshire has not shown that its precedent agreement with TGP for the NED pipeline is consistent with these objectives, nor compares favorably with the alternatives available. Berkshire articulated its portfolio objectives in its 2014 forecast and supply plan, and I quote here, to continue to provide reliable, least cost service with a minimum impact upon the environment. Its precedent agreement proposal, effectively denying gas service expansion and hookups for 3.5 years or more in our moratorium communities without alternatives in place, does not demonstrate reliable service. The precedent agreement, dependent on TGP's proposed NED pipeline through greenfields, through environmentally sensitive areas, does not demonstrate minimum impact on the environment. And Berkshire has not even shown that this is the least cost alternative available. In similar proceedings over the past 16 years before the Energy Facility Siting Board, Berkshire has discussed specific cost comparisons and numerous alternatives to its proposals, such as additional conservation energy programs, and I think we should add leak repair, additional load management programs, construction of new propane air facilities, construction of additional distribution pipelines, larger diameter feed lines, and/or looping pipelines. It even at one point discussed the possibility of pipelines from Ludlow or Palmer, and it's discussed expanded LNG facilities. Some of these alternatives may not have been judged cost effective then, but the cost calculus may have now changed as Berkshire forgoes 3.5 years of new customer revenue, and may be forcing many of our towns and developers in those towns to forego tax revenues and business income revenues. Berkshire has offered no serious presentation, much less real cost comparisons, of any such local, likely lower impact and faster alternatives than the NED pipeline. Berkshire's manager of regulatory agreement, and I want to talk about one here, LNG as an alternative. Berkshire's manager of regulatory economics in her testimony attached to the petition in fact acknowledged the expansion of on-system peaking resources was one of the conceptual alternatives to the NED, and that includes LNG. In 1999, to alleviate pressure, capacity, and peaking issues, Berkshire added a permanent LNG storage facility to its system on Longview Road in Whately, originally and apparently still comprised of just two 70,000-gallon LNG tanks. But it built a pad for 5 tanks. In 1999, at least, Berkshire determined that the proposed LNG storage would be lower cost in net present value of 20-year revenue requirements than the alternative of building 12-inch diameter pipeline upgrades and acquiring increased gas transport from Tennessee Gas Pipeline. Okay. They never built those other 3. They planned a pad for 5. They never built those other 3 tanks. So it's hard for me to take seriously a plan to bring in a gigantic pipeline when they didn't carry out what they said was going to be their plan to every few years, 2003, 2011, and 2018, add another tank to deal with increased customer load. And I'll leave it to Madeline to continue. Thank you.
Madeline Charney, C-H-A-R-N-E-Y. I'm an active member of Mothers Out Front, mobilizing for a livable climate. So continuing where we left off, 3 missing 70,000-gallon LNG tanks by my math is 17,355 decatherms of missing gas, enough to supply 200,000 of the average daily use of an additional 4,000 residential customers for roughly 8 days. The approximately 8 days. If the 3 extra LNG tanks are never refilled during that time, but of course they would be at least partially refilled by tanker delivery nearly every day during the winter. Berkshire said last summer it was exploring with a possible consortium other regional opportunities to expand LNG in New England. They said it expected the consortium, quote, process will result in opportunities to secure LNG liquid on a reliable, cost-effective basis from existing and new facilities, end quote. On a nearby local LNG front, Columbia Gas has been running a gas liquefaction facility in Ludlow, enabling it to purchase gas off-peak at lower costs and liquefy it for storage until winter peak use. Berkshire does not present any analysis of whether a liquefaction facility coupled with additional storage might be a more timely solution favorable to its customers, particularly those who will have to wait until at least November 2018 to obtain or increase service if this precedent agreement is approved. UMass isn't waiting around for the NAD pipeline to be built 3.5 years from now. The university is currently proposing to build a new permanent 108,000-gallon LNG storage facility next to its combined heat power plant on its Amherst, Massachusetts campus. UMass Amherst plans to begin the construction of the first 56,000-gallon tank in the fall of 2015, and that tank will be operational by November 2016. So these LNG storage facilities can be built in roughly a year. Why is UMass so proactive and Berkshire sitting on its hands for 3.5 years? And I'll turn it over to Tim Holcomb now.
My name is Tim Holcomb. I want to thank you for coming out tonight. My last name is spelled Holcomb. And we basically want to know what happened to the missing LNG storage tanks in Whately. What happened to the possible consortium opportunities to expand LNG? Why isn't exploration of LNG liquefaction facilities and additional LNG storage taking place? How much can expanded LNG solve the winter peak problem that has caused Berkshire, it says, to declare a hookup moratorium? Why isn't Berkshire Gas looking seriously at alternatives like these instead of sitting on their hands for 3.5 years waiting for TGP's NED pipeline to arrive? A pipeline which may never be built. Expanded LNG storage could help diversify Berkshire supplies, and I might add, there's a lot of construction opportunity in LNG storage that we would love for you to have. In fact, I will say right now, as a ratepayer and a taxpayer, I would pay a premium to keep Massachusetts working toward renewables rather than working for a Spanish company. I'd pay more for my energy. LNG storage can be more closely calibrated to any local area's actual winter peak shortfall and avoid costly, high-impact, decades-long overinvestment in massive gas pipeline infrastructure as we work on our transition to an all-renewable energy economy. Smaller scale LNG storage is typically faster to put up, smaller investment, and would mean less sunk and wasted investment in fossil fuel infrastructure as we unwind New England's excessive dependence on fossil fuels in the years ahead. The bottom line, if the department approves Berkshire's plan to sit on its hands for 3.5 years waiting for the NED pipeline to come, the department will be condoning Berkshire's failure to explore potentially faster, lower impact solutions to its capacity problems, to the disadvantage of Berkshire's customers and the towns they live in and do business in. And that would not be in the public interest. Thank you.